Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday talk. But this is technically different from our usual ones. This is our other talk, which we do once a month, every third Sunday, and we get together at both 10:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time and 6:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and we have two different subjects, and hopefully that keeps it interesting for everyone. But we do this so that people who don't live in a time zone that enables them to show up for our usual time, they can come hang out with us this morning. And we are so happy to have those people when they can come. It's very exciting for us. So, thank you for being here, all of you. And I guess I should introduce myself. I am Nor Kyle, and this is my co host.
Who is not Nur Kyle. I am Mushtaq Ali.
And yeah, we just want to welcome you and get started. But first, we have to do our YouTube spiel. Mushtaq, would you like to do that today?
I will be happy to do that today. So,
I'll do it later.
yeah, you can do it this evening. So, um, welcome to our channel if you are watching us on YouTube. We are pleased to have you. And if this is your first time, you are doubly welcome, falling into this strangeness. And we would ask you if you would be so kind as to consider subscribing to the channel. There's a little button right somewhere down there. Um, Please click that button and become a subscriber to our channel so you can be informed of all of our groovy content and be part of the in-group. This is where the cool kids hang out. So if you are a cool kid, or you would like to be a cool kid, or you would like to bother the cool kids, join the channel. And we would ask you to also hit the like button so that we can get points with the YouTube algorithm, and they'll put our video in more feeds so that people can see it and find out what we do. Um, Even more important than these things, though, is we would love for you to make a comment on this video. Tell us what you think. Did you like it? Did you hate it? We will be happy to read and reply to all comments that are not trolling. So uh, take a moment, leave a comment.
Questions welcome, always.
Yeah, we definitely love questions.
And we are getting so close to our goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, as of this morning, 993 subscribers.
It's
I'm
kind of
I'm amazed.
exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the reason that we are looking for that 1,000 subscribers is then we can take control over uh, our ads. YouTube forces ads on this channel. They have been running ads on our videos without monetizing the channel or anything like that, just because they decided they wanted to. Uh, we don't like ads. We would rather you not see ads on this channel. And the only way that we can demonetize and get rid of these ads, as I understand it, is to be part of their uh,
Partnership program.
affiliate, yeah,
Yeah.
their program, and then we have some control. And if we can't turn the ads off completely, we can at least disallow some of the more obnoxious ones. We do
So,
not support
yeah.
anybody who's advertising on this channel. As a matter of fact, we actively unsupport them. So don't buy their shit.
Don't buy into their shit either.
That
Yeah.
too. Yeah. So
Great.
that's the main reason that we want to have subscribers, not because of any other reason that people could think of. Just we want to turn off the commercials.
Shall we get started?
Let's get started. What the heck are we doing this morning?
So, we are continuing the conversation we began, I believe, 2 weeks ago. I think this is our third Sunday on this discussion of
Yes.
the three practices that we really value in our school, and they're part of our tradition, and they're part of the Gurdjieff tradition that we are often inspired by. And previously, we encountered some other groups who are,
Nefarious
yeah,
individuals.
exactly, nefarious individuals who end up running groups where these practices are used either incorrectly or misleading
Unethically.
or just plain abusively.
Yeah.
So we wanted to, to challenge that and to bring to the fore the reasons why these practices are of value, how they, should be practiced for benefit rather than for harm. And
And to break the wall of secrecy around them.
yeah, exactly. Yes, there is nothing particularly secret or spooky about these practices, but they are effective. And we will be discussing that further. But if you want to see where we come from in order to get to where we are today, you can visit a couple of talks back when we talked about self observation and self remembering. And here we'll be talking about self witnessing. So why don't
We're
we?
not just going to be talking about it, we're going to be
We're going to be
teaching it
doing
today.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're going to go through this practice step by step so that you can do it without having to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars to learn to do the practice. And then you learn it wrong, which is
And if
no
you want
fun
to
at
learn the
all.
other practices, those are in the previous videos. So yeah,
Yes.
they'll be able to not just have the theory, but also, you'll have a demo of how this works and why to do it, which is also important. Rashid's here. Yay.
Who's here?
Rashid.
Ah, excellent.
Hello. Hi.
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 Welcome. We're just getting started.
Oh, great. Thank you.
All right.
So, take it newer.
Um, there's something about this practice that is a little bit different from the others in that it is not often publicly taught, which, does kind of seem to echo this sense of secrecy. Why do you think that is, Mushtaq? Why do you think this one is a bit more hidden, shall we say?
It's a good question. Gurdjieff hinted at it in Beelzebub's Tales, but never explicitly got into it. In reading the books of his students, I have not seen it mentioned anywhere, uh, which I find odd because the first self-observation and self-remembering are well attested and are, as far as I'm concerned, obviously from a Sufi tradition. Each of these practices has an Arabic name. These names are not mysterious. Basically, if you live in an Arabic speaking society or a Muslim society, you have run across them. You can look them up on the internet and they will give you at least a small sense of what they are, though these days they are used in a theocratic way instead of a way to help you be awake. There's a lot of theology involved in pointing to God and that sort of thing, which is not there originally. Um, in Arabic, uh, this practice is called mushahida. Comes from the Arabic root shahada, which means to witness. You find this word a lot. I mean, the attestation of faith that one finds in Islam, which is La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is one of his prophets. is called the shahada, the witnessing. So when you have that mu in front of it, it means you are witnessing something. And what you are witnessing in the case of this practice is yourself awake. You are using this practice to not just enter into a waking state, but to move from a waking state, to make that waking state a part of your world, where you can actually hold that state and function in the world, which makes it very, very interesting. So, whereas self-observation uh, is a way of taking a look at the contents of your mind, and self-remembering is a way of finding your essential self. Self-witnessing is a way of acting from your essential self. And without going into too much detail, let's just teach you how to do it. It's very simple. Most of these practices are simple, and bear in mind that simple does not mean easy. So, sit comfortably to start, and make sure your back is kind of straight. And I want you to start with your eyes closed and just pay attention to your breathing. You don't have to do anything with your breathing other than allow yourself to breathe in a relaxed manner. So your attention is on your breathing. Now, as with self-remembering, I want you to take your mind, take your awareness, and turn it on itself so that you can be aware of the witness, aware of yourself being aware, aware of the person who looks out through your eyes, aware of the person that's there when all attachments are removed. So at this point, you're doing the self-remembering with part of your awareness on your breath. Now, open your eyes. Holding your awareness of yourself, also be aware of everything around you. This includes your body. It includes the room you're sitting in. It includes every sense that you have. And this is an active thing. It's not passive. You're not letting things just come into you. You're reaching out with your awareness to that which is around you. For me, it's like I can feel the walls of the room with my awareness. I can see the room and everything that's in it. And I can do that while holding the awake state, which is the state where you are aware of yourself, at the same time. Now, if you are good at this, you have probably been able to do this for whole seconds without losing it. And when you notice that you've lost it, you go back and go through the same 3 steps again. Awareness of breath, awareness of self, awareness of environment. When you have practiced this enough, you begin to do this moving through the world. So if I can get up from my seat, go to the sink, and pour myself a glass of water while maintaining this state, while maintaining the awake state and being present in the room right now, then I'm doing this properly. Does that make sense? I mean, I know with an esoteric practice like that, this should be like some drawn out thing and maybe a few sacred words and gestures and passes. These are not the droids you're looking for or whatever. But it's really simple. And what this practice is designed to do is to allow you to function in the world as an awake human being. So in this case, you are staring at a screen with a person on the other side of the screen talking to you. So you incorporate that into the third part of this, and you can listen while being awake. So when you listen from the awake state, you are present with this. The thoughts are quiet, and you're just here. And every now and again, check and make sure that you are still feeling your breath, still aware of your breath. This is asking you to split your attention into three pieces: the breath, the awareness on the awareness, and the awareness on the world. For those of you who are in the Sufi class, this will make a lot of sense when we get to the fourth precept, which is the Khalwat dar Anjuman, the solitude in the crowd.
Which is coming up. So
Next week.
this is a good tie-in.
Yeah. Do we have a question or something? Uh, yeah, some people are having bad connections today, which is not their fault. So anyway, I don't know if you heard that, but Noor is asking, do you have any questions?
Okay, yeah, okay. Yes, I was muted. Does anyone have any questions so far before we continue?
It's a pretty simple practice. I want you to note, though, that with self-observation, you are doing to the objects of your own consciousness what you are doing to the world. So you've actually practiced this with your self-observation, but instead of observing the contents of your mind, you are observing your environment, your world, everything in it, the people in it, all of that. With self-remembering, you are learning to remember yourself, to observe the essential self, the true I, and practice that. With the third practice, you're learning to do both at the same time while maintaining an awareness of your body. This is basically a way to practice being awake.
So Tommy had something he wanted to say. And Malou, you can follow after that, yeah.
I've been painting this week, and this is useful for as a practice. Would that be useful for when you're trying to create as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Because you're there. I got in touch. It's completely. I got in touch with an 87-year-old artist by chance, and it ended up he posted me his book, and he was in a Gurdjieff group in Ushbensky, and so was the artist who I was studying, and it was just so rare. But his whole book is really, really about that you create dead art when you're you're not here, and
Yeah.
it's a good sort of opportunity for me to be really, if I'm going to sit for a while now to try and, but I suppose that might be a bit different from the flow state as well, and but my idea was coming to some sort of an equilibrium as I was painting,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
Gurdjieff talked a great deal about the difference between subjective and objective art.
yeah,
And you create objective art from this state by being able to hold this state while you are painting or sculpting or writing or whatever you're doing, and letting that move through you in such a way that the awakeness that you experience is impressed upon the art.
I always notice that if I'm on it, things appear in the painting that I didn't expect and didn't. It's very, but again, that might be a bit different because from what I'm doing is it's a different type of art as well. I mean, a lot of it is subjective. It's it's to do with, I'm not sure, it's to do with me and as well, but it's a great opportunity for me to practice as well when I'm painting, I think.
Yeah, and just because the art is about you doesn't mean that it's subjective in the sense that Gurdjieff was talking about. It
That's
can
good.
be about real things. I mean, you experience real things. You are making real statements with your art. And so, uh, if you are doing this from an objective state, it will come through.
That's
One of these
really
days you may,
unsettling.
yeah, one of these days you may be painting legomenisms, which is art that has a deep message embedded in it that people discover.
I always heard Beelzebub's Tales was so
Yeah,
like goes.
yeah,
I couldn't pronounce it when I was hearing it.
Yeah, I
yeah,
hear you. Yeah.
yeah. You get some of that with Salvador Dali's art. Uh, there's a big Dali museum in Florida that I got to visit, and one of the most impressive things that I have ever seen with a painting in my life was this giant canvas when you come into the room. There's several of them actually. And as you get closer, the picture changes, the painting changes. It's one thing at the back of the room and something totally different when you're up close. And uh, it is done in such a way that it delivers a shock to the system. Uh, that kind of makes you go, oh. So, yeah,
That's really helpful. Thanks.
Yay. Good. Thanks. Great, Tommy. Good connection. Malou, what are you thinking about?
Mm, how do I actually know that I'm looking at what is looking?
um, who's asking that question?
I don't know. I'm always wondering, am I,
Again, who is the I
if I'm
that's
doing this,
wondering?
the I that wants to do the practice right?
Okay, and can you see that eye? Can you just like look at that eye in your mind's eye right now?
I don't know.
You don't know? Then how do you know it's there?
I don't know if my idea of looking is too visual
Doesn't
in a
matter.
way.
Doesn't matter. Now, the real question, though, is not can you see that eye? It's what sees that eye? What sees that eye? What sees any of your eyes? What sees the room right now? That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And it sounds weird, but when you get it, it's there, and you can never unget it once you get it. once you understand that reflexive movement, a lot of people ask this, and it's because they don't know that rather than looking out, they need to be looking in the opposite direction and ask themselves, what's asking the question? What is watching the question being asked? Where is the base awareness of you?
Yeah, I feel like I have a sense of what is watching, and I feel like I can be aware of that. That is, if that's it in a way, or if it's a more concrete feeling.
Yeah. And it's difficult for you and I, because we both speak Germanic languages.
Hmm.
English is very close to German. Um, and our language is oriented to objects. So the way we language it is as if we are looking for like a rock sitting in our head. And it's not that. It's actually a process of noticing that there is a you that's looking. There is this awareness that's always there, um, though often asleep. So, can you think of the last drawing you did? Can you think of
Hmm.
that?
Hmm.
What is looking at that drawing?
It's something I feel like I can't describe. It's just
Yeah, you can't,
it's that
but
what is looking.
yeah, but you can be aware of it. And this is one of the problems is because we literally don't have the language to describe this, either in English or in German. You don't really get close to approximating a description until you get into languages like Sanskrit or Chinese. So we got to travel a ways.
Hmm.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that helps. I feel like there is, yeah, that when I'm looking inside, there something in perception does change when I'm like, okay, what is feeling the breath? But it's
Yeah,
quite vague, the experience.
keep practicing and it will become clearer. But this is the first step. And it's really quite terrible of me to have done this to you because now you will never be able to undo this. So once you have gotten fairly good at this in sitting, you need to bring it into the world. You need to act from it to create this state of awakeness because what you're looking for in this state is not the state itself, but the flow that happens from this state. And that's when Tommy's talking about his painting. Um, this will aid in bringing into a flow state that is where the great work takes place. And this will happen with anything that you're doing. Malu, you'll find the same thing with your drawings. If you are in this state and you begin to draw, especially uh, if um, what you're doing is a little bit more difficult than usual. Not a lot more difficult, but a little bit more difficult when you're really trying to get this refined technique. Uh, that's where you will fall into flow. And here's a secret. Gurdjieff used to talk about super efforts, and everybody thought it was like, go out and work your ass off until you're dropping dead. No,
Not so
this is
much.
not this is not the real super effort. The real super effort is to find that which is just beyond your reach and reach a little further and keep reaching a little further until you gently ease into a flow state. Because flow states don't come when you're doing shit that you're used to doing, as a rule.
So you're
Or at
kind of,
least not at first.
yeah, so you're kind of like dancing on that edge of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's got to be beyond your comfort zone, but not too far beyond. It's like back when we were able to go fencing, I would always look for somebody who was a little bit better than me to fence because that was the quickest way to get myself into that state. Um, but if I found like the greatest fencer in the world, it wouldn't happen because it was like too hard to push into it, and then I'd have to cheat and stuff. But yeah, it's that little inch and a half. I always thought of it. You know, just beyond your reach. Stretch, you know, relax your muscles, let the bones expand, let the joints expand until you can reach out and pluck it from what you thought was a little bit too far. And when you do that in this state, more often than not, you will enter into flow. And we've talked about the flow state all over the place and what it actually is and what it means and why it is so important.
and it also allows you to grow in a way that is, not going to be pushing you so far that it becomes counterproductive and you just crumble in the end, right? This is about
Yeah,
expansion that just kind of happens naturally and comfortably in the sense that it's not going to leave you shattered from disappointment. It's like, okay, do it. I think maybe I could do it. Actually, you do, and you're like, holy shit, this is my new normal. I guess I need to stretch a little bit more. But there's something very satisfying about stepping just beyond the comfort zone where it's a little bit exciting. It's got that enticing challenge quality to it. And the state that we're talking about facilitates being able to do that without freaking out about it. It becomes a positive, often fun experience, and flow is part of that. It's kind of a feedback loop.
yeah. So what we want with this practice, and this is why this is the third practice, is for each of all of every one of you to be able to move through the world while awake. If you're sitting in lotus position and you're in awake state, that's good. But what happens when you have to cook dinner? What happens when you need to empty the cat box? What happens when any of these things come up? Most of the time, you just go to sleep behind the work. But what if you could use all of that as tools to teach yourself to maintain an awakened state? Now, when you are holding the awakened state, the machine wants you to go back to sleep, or it wants you to re-identify, is actually the case. This is where you use the other two tools. You use self-observation to see what this stuff is that comes up. You use self-remembering to practice being able to perceive yourself, to be able to experience you as awake. And then you go back into this and you take it into the world. drive cars, ride on bicycles, whatever you want to do. Talk with your friends. Listen to your friends. Think of what it would feel like if you were talking to someone and they were totally present with you while you were. What would that feel like? This is not a rhetorical question. Imagine this and tell me, what would it feel like?
David, what would it feel like to you?
I imagined telling more detail and telling a longer story than I might have set out to tell because the person was there to hear it.
You did, yeah. Yep. It's a really great image, actually. How about you, Levita?
I am uncaffeinated, so I'm processing all of
Oh,
this.
it's okay. I think, I'm definitely a little downshifted because it's in the morning. But
Yeah.
just, envision for a moment what it would be like to have someone sitting across from you, fully present in a conversation with you.
Everybody can imagine talking with somebody who is not present, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can touch on that too. Yeah, I mean,
Um, I wouldn't be able to tell. I wouldn't be able to tell. And that's a story for my therapist. I'm writing that.
well, to go farther into that if you don't want to, that's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, here's the good news. If you practice this practice, you'll be able to tell.
Yep.
Isn't that's what real intimacy is about, isn't it? As well, that you can sit with someone and you're both there, like you say,
Yes.
and you don't get that so much. And sometimes, if you're lucky, like you say, you can, but it's definitely something that you can pick up. Well, I know, but it's so hard to get. It's sometimes, so, but that's intimacy. Intimacy, I can't even say it as the word that came up for me, so.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it will make people uncomfortable oftentimes. We're used to being distracted, having the other person be distracted,
Yeah.
and our machine talks to their machine, and being completely present with another person, and if that other person is also being completely present with you, if you're not prepared for that, it can get very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Livita says that bit I can relate to. Yep.
The word that came up for me was comfortable. And I'm kind of laughing because now that you said it will be uncomfortable, I was thinking like, yeah, it probably also feels uncomfortable, but also quite comfortable in a way.
Yeah, it can be both. If
Yeah.
you are not ready for it, the intensity of that much presence directed on you can be uncomfortable. If you
Yeah.
are ready for it, it's kind of nice.
It's almost like, can I trust that? Are they trying to like manipulate me by being really intensely focused on me? I've experienced that. And sometimes I will like deliberately either, as the person who is sitting in a place of presence in conversation with someone, if I sense that that's just too much, I will start intentionally fiddling with things to kind of take the edge off so that they don't feel freaked out. That I'm like, you know, I'm not trying to penetrate their soul in a creepy, invasive way.
So I have a quick question about that.
Yeah.
Given, especially what you just said, Nora, you said exactly what I was thinking. So last week I was having a work conversation with someone who was trying to teach me a little bit more about the politics at work and things. And halfway through the conversation, he's like, yeah, all of these techniques I'm talking about, I'm using it on you right now. And so is there a difference between being present versus being almost predatory, where you're watching that person and trying to, or being watched by somebody else, and your every move, your every like tone of voice, they're calculating, they're analyzing in the hopes of manipulating you? Like, is there a difference between present versus predator?
Yes,
Oh yeah.
there is a total difference, because being present doesn't mean that you want some objective from the other person.
So then is the predator present, or is the predator doing something else?
In my experience, the predator has very, very good algorithms that act almost automatically. The consciousness of the predator is not usually awake. As a
Point
matter of
taken.
fact, predators tend to be very mechanical in their nature. So it's the difference between knowing techniques of manipulation and actually being there.
I mean, because the intention is mechanical, right? If someone's trying to
Yeah.
manipulate you. So it starts from the seed of the interaction there. All right, so
And Levita has a
yeah,
pointed comment, like a human Turing test. You all know what the Turing test is, right?
you should
Okay, it came from Alan Turing, the great English mathematician who pretty much created the computer age almost single-handedly. And he was being asked, how would you judge a computer to be intelligent, like AI, artificial intelligence? And he said, if you are sitting in a different room and you're having a conversation with this computer and you cannot tell whether or not it's a computer or a human being, then it has passed the intelligence test for all intents and purposes. We have recently achieved that with, I think it was Google's AI. One of their natural language AIs passed the Turing test.
like whether you believe it's sentient or not, it passes the Turing test.
Yes, yeah. Lambda.
So, Aaron said, yeah, I find the absence of fixation a little disorienting sometimes. It's because it's our normal. That is the baseline that we are all immersed in, is that we are all acting from our mechanical fixations. And of course, not every moment is like that. Not every person is like that as their baseline, but that is generally what we encounter. So it is strange when we come across something a little different.
Here's the thing. This is kind of harsh, and I apologize beforehand. But when you are operating from your machine, from your ego, from your nafs, you are not interacting with the other person. You are interacting with the contents of your own mind being projected on the other person. In almost all cases, it is only, yes, it is a Rorschach test. What you see is what's already in you. Think about ever so many relationships where somebody has gotten involved with another person and all they're doing is projecting their own internal image of that person onto the person, as opposed to seeing that person for who they really are. And this describes 99% of all relationships out there, in my humble opinion. Humble, yeah, right. in my not so humble opinion.
Yeah, Saoirse mentions projections, or what I wrote about on my Facebook wall earlier this week.
Yes,
So,
that's right. So, one of the things that self witnessing allows you to do is to actually be with the person as they really are, as opposed to projecting your image on them. I used to do couples counseling. I did a lot of it back in the day. And it always felt to me like here were two people sitting there, and each of them had a mask that they were holding up in front of the other. And the only thing that would get through the mask is who they wanted the other person to see them as. And behind that mask was the other person's projection of who they were. And so it just, there was no actual truth getting through in most cases.
yeah, and it can be hard to communicate to people who don't quite grasp this aspect of human interaction yet. So it's like, I have experience that it's kind of like walking on eggshells in the beginning to try and explain that, but you don't really get anywhere if you don't address that.
Yeah. And the problem with this is that each person who does this will try and force the other person into the shape of their image.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't have to be romantic relationships. Families are like the worst. Your parents, your siblings, they all have an image of who you're supposed to be, which may or may not have anything to do with you. And getting the weight of that off of your back and shoulders is difficult but incredibly important to do. Now, I loathe Carlos Castaneda. He was a charlatan and a fake and a liar. But he did talk about one thing that was true, which he stole from elsewhere, which was the idea of erasing personal history. That was his description of breaking these images so that you are not subject to them anymore. And so everybody that you know has a personal history of you. And you have a personal history of everybody that you know. And when you meet that person, you project it on them. It's as if you were a movie projector and you're just playing it on the screen of who they really are. And they're doing the same to you. And their expectation is that you will adhere to that image that they have. And this is all completely mechanical. And so natural, for lack of a better word, that we don't even notice that we're doing it. And the discovery that that's what you're doing can be shattering. Carl Jung talked about this. He talked with the anima animus, the internal opposite. Like for a man, it's the anima, the internal female part that you project upon every woman you meet. And how it's best to learn not to do that. Make friends with it in yourself. But this goes beyond that. This asks the question, who are you and who is the other person when none of that mechanical bullshit is going on? Sometimes when you take that away, you realize that one, you did not know the person that you've been hanging out with for months, years, and two, now that you see them without the projection on them, they're nobody that you're even interested in hanging out with. And all of this comes from this simple little 3-step practice that you learn to do in a few minutes. All right, let's talk about things.
I saw that Ailey was unmuted earlier, but we didn't get the chance to hear from him. Did you want to share now, Ailey?
Well, about meeting someone who is honest. This what I knew a few persons who was very honest to me, and there's a flow between me and the other one, and there is also a lot of moments there is silence, and that's okay.
Yes.
And there's feeling with the other one with and me. There's no border. It is we are one, and there's no time, and we are smiling to each other. That's it. And it's very nice to have those people. I'm very blessed to have that kind of people around me. Thank you.
Yeah, and those elements are definitely things that you want to look for in this kind of awake interaction. I mean, that's kind of a perfect description. So thanks for that.
Rishabh.
Yeah, hi. What Mustaq just said about like breaking the personal histories. So I've actually tried doing that with a lot of people, but in the end, like it seems that happens with everyone. Like whoever you form a relationship with of any kind, not even romantic, like there is just no escape from that.
There are escapes, but it will require significant work on your part. Because, first of all, you cannot break that with another person until you've broken it inside yourself. Because their mechanicalness will call out to your mechanicalness. So this is why you do this practice a lot. What you have to do is ask yourself, what is the mechanical expectation that this person has of me? And then you do something different.
But wouldn't that just like getting and them getting like more upset because they wouldn't see?
Oftentimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you do it with your parents. Man, that gets wild.
Well, they have given up on me, so I don't worry about that so much.
Yep.
There is a thing that you do. If you have to deal with people who have this mechanical image of you that you can't break it for whatever reason, is that you wear it as a disguise, but you have to realize that it's there and that it's not real.
Yeah. I try doing exactly that.
Yeah, and that it's hard to do it first because it's so easy to slip into that mechanical interaction.
Yeah.
But if you can do it while staying awake to it, then it becomes a powerful tool.
Like also about this staying awake thing, I have tried it a few times, but like initially it like takes so much energy that like I just cannot hold that state. Like
yes, it's exactly like that. Now, do
It
you
is
work
a
out?
workout. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you do anything like go to the gym, lift weights, anything like that?
I wish, like I used to, but not now because I have like a slip disc. So I can't.
Okay.
Oh, ow.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So
Sorry to hear that.
Imagine though that your disc was fixed and you had to go back to you got to go back to the gym.
Yeah.
Do you think that you could lift your heaviest weights that you used to lift? The answer to that is no.
Yeah.
This is not, people think, oh, I can learn this practice and then it's all good. This
Yeah.
requires constant, intense work.
Yeah. Mhm.
The, the Sanskrit word tapas.
Yeah.
Yeah, this requires lots of that. Like the heat,
Oh.
the struggle to stay awake is massive.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, it's
sometimes when
not.
I used to, yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Sorry, you say.
I say it's not for lightweights.
Hmm. Right.
So sometimes you used to.
Yeah, I was saying like sometimes I just used to like force myself, so I used to get like these headaches and stuff. So I
Yeah.
just like stopped doing
So
that.
that tells you that you overdid it a little bit.
Okay.
Work to the point where it becomes a strain. Then let yourself fall back asleep, take a nap, bring yourself
Mhm.
back.
This
Right.
gets back to what we were talking about just going, like you said, we're talking an inch and a half past the
Yeah.
comfort zone. But
Mhm.
over time, that edge expands because you're doing that stretch recovery.
Right. Also,
Yeah.
like sometimes when I was doing that, like I just wanted to be in that state rather than focusing on the activity outside. And oftentimes, like I just used to want to be in that state and just like not do any of the outside activity.
Yeah,
It was
that's
like
the
almost addictive.
trancing out. Yeah.
Yeah. And we want to avoid that.
Mhm.
It's okay to do some of that. Like when you're at home, you sit and do your self remembering, and that's
Yeah.
fine. Um, but we have to be in the world. And you have a
Yeah.
choice of being in the world and being awake, or being in the world and being mechanical,
Mhm.
I mean,
or a
that's
combination.
right. And it makes sense that the self remembering, which is like the sitting still and enjoying the experience, comes before bringing it into the world because there is a level of discipline that's required in order to carry that forward outside of that comfy, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy this experience kind of state where you're just
Right.
like savoring the flavors and all. Like, you can bring it outward, you can take it from the inner to the outer at that point.
Mhm.
And of course, as you said, like sometimes you just want to come home to it again, but that's why I say it's kind of like a stretch and then a recovery because you can move pro between
Mhm.
just having a sitting practice and taking what you experience in that sitting practice and applying it to things like getting a project done at work and
Right.
having an
But
interaction
at
with
least,
your
yeah,
parents or whatever. Yeah.
like I found it the most easiest with like bodily activities, like say taking a jog or just like walking. Yeah.
Yeah, that
And
makes
then,
sense because
yeah.
those get you into your body, as they say,
Mhm.
which is part in a way of what's required for this practice. That's the being in our breath part where we touch base with being a physical being.
Mhm. Right.
And we're doing a physical activity, we almost, I mean, you can check out while running, I guess, but it's, if you're breathing in a certain way, which is again part of this practice, it tunes
Mhm.
you into the bodily experience.
Right.
Yeah. Human beings have the ability to check out while doing anything. The trick is to make sure that you don't.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, that'll be a touch and go thing as you build up your stamina to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you do have
Makes
to
sense.
remember that this is a gradual process that takes place over time with
Mhm.
intense work. You
Mhm.
can't just go, oh, I'm going to remember myself for 5 minutes. You have to be highly motivated to do
Mhm.
this. And as a
Right.
matter of fact, on our evening talk today, we're going to talk about the aim that Gurdjieff talks about. He says you have to have an aim. And that aim is something that
You need to write it out.
Yeah, totally moves you to do this.
Yeah,
Sorry.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. It feels
Yeah.
good when you do this at a pace rather than trying to just like run a marathon when you've never done that before.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, just
Tommy
like
has a
lifting
comment.
weights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Tommy has a
Um,
comment.
sorry, when I was
And yeah, Malu's also been unmuted for a while. Is it
oh,
okay if we
sorry,
touch base with her first?
you
It's
go.
okay, Tommy. You'll be next. Malu.
No, you check with Tommy first.
Okay, Tommy, what were you about to say?
That, when I had been reading the work, I've been making my way through like 5 volumes of Maurice Nicole's work, and when I was about halfway through the first one, I thought I'll skip ahead to the third one and get these sneak peeks of what's to come, and it's just all self-observation, self-remember. It's right to the end, and the thing that he would stress, and I thought that is that it needs to hit you on an emotional level that you need to really care to do this. That you get up every day and it's in your mind every day, so that's it sinking in emotionally rather than just reading it.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah.
sort of in my mind.
Yeah. Think of you're an artist, right? You paint. That's like one of the hardest ways I can think of to make a living in this world. I mean, so you must be highly motivated to do this.
Well, I've been about to throw that canvas out the window today. So it's pretty, but definitely, if I have an idea, I'll maybe do 8 of the same painting, but I realize now lately I actually had a bit of an artist block, and I'd done a 3-month intensive abstract art painting course, and with and it was like they had a word again, me stealing a portal to presence, and I like that word when you have to be on it, and I realized that a lot of the time my mind would wander, on the different stuff,
Yeah.
and the result wasn't art, it wasn't what I had wanted, so that's what I'm working on now, is really trying to keep really present when I'm working. So this is great, like, so
Yep, I'm working on that with writing right now. So I relate to what you're saying. And sometimes I just want to chuck it out the window. But I mean, I'll start over if I have to because I feel like this is important. And the more I feel that in my belly, so to speak, the easier it is to push through those moments of, fuck, why am I doing this? This sucks. But it's almost like a craving that needs to be satisfied but never really can be, and that's the magic of it, really. Thanks, Tommy. Malu.
Is there a way to rest from the work of being awake?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
doesn't create harm? Because what I'm experiencing is that when I'm mechanical, I do things that create trouble and create reasons to have projections on me.
That's
But
a
I also
really good
noticed that
question.
it's quite hard to be present, and sometimes I'm just tired of it.
Yeah. So you go home, you sit down, and you watch TV.
Something inward, would you say?
Yeah, watch an inappropriate movie. Yeah, that's we all occasionally need breaks to do this. One enlightened guy I know plays video games. Loves to play video games. He has a giant theater in his house, designed just to play video games. He's got a comfy chair. He's got his controllers, and he will just go in there and play a video game for an hour, and then he is refreshed. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. Also, when you go to sleep at night, this is a time for you to refresh yourself. One of the things that is really important to the work is that you get enough sleep. It's the various teachers and gurus that say you should sleep very, very little. You should stay up and do practices all night long and be completely exhausted the next day and get fired from your job because you fell asleep and trains crashed together and things like that are not really giving you good advice. Sleep enough, but not too much. You know, 10 hours in bed might be a bit much, but a proper night's sleep so your body has time to recover and your mind has time to recover and process through all of the stuff that you experience is a good thing for you.
And it's a way for your nervous system to mellow out when you
Yeah.
allow yourself that rest and you rely on a healthy nervous system in order to do this kind of work and to withstand the pressures that come with trying to hold your own in a work and projection.
And Palin has just sent a link, I think,
Yeah, she's
on
made a recommendation of a book called
Why We
Why
Sleep.
We Sleep, The Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams by Matthew Walker, if anyone's interested in that. Yeah.
Yeah, with
So,
the
Baloo, yeah, sorry.
yeah, with the subject of projections, I often feel like there is some reason for these projections to lay on me. And it doesn't, I
It
feel
gives
like,
you something to do self-observation on.
yeah. I mean, it's like, well, I see where they come from, and sometimes they like totally overshoot from what's actually going on, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes it's the where they come from isn't there anymore, and that's tough sometimes to feel them and to also feel the ones I'm doing.
It's a lot. Yep. It's definitely a workout, as we mentioned, to do the self observation and the self remembering and the self witnessing under conditions of external stress. It's a lot of resilience to be able to do that, but thankfully resilience is buildable.
So, who have we not heard from? Nor you're good at hunting down the people who aren't talking.
Silent people. I haven't heard much from Aaron. You want to just hang out? Do you have anything you might like to share? We'll let you sit tight. Well, I know you came late, but do you have any thoughts that have come up since you were able to get here?
No, I apologize. I think I got the timings completely. I thought I was 10 minutes early, to be honest.
Oh,
But I
Ah,
was
sorry about
very,
that.
very late. My apologies to everybody. But I will
Don't
listen
feel
to the
bad.
recording.
Yeah. Okay.
well, we are happy to have you in any event. See your smiling face.
Sin Palin had to go, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Aaron, how about you? What's coming up for you? And um, David, I'd like to hear from you again. What's coming up
Sure.
for you? Yeah.
So you're doing your self-observation, you're doing your self-remembering, you're doing your self-witnessing. Are you, like, in the self-observation, do you intentionally bring things up like the past or the future when you're in the self-witnessing state and observe them from that place?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Are these happening
Yeah.
at the same time, or are these happening like separately? Do you
They will
think these
tend to happen separately because in order to do proper self-observation, you have to pull yourself away from the external world.
Yeah.
So I'm bopping along doing my self-witnessing. Something comes up for me. If I can in the moment, I will work on it. But if not, I will uh, just set it aside, set it right like over here uh, until I can sit down and take it apart with self-observation and see what's going on. So once I start doing the self-observation, I give up the external connection for a little bit because I need to focus on the content of my own mind.
So you're pivoting your outward attention very much inward.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the same with, um, I'm bopping along the street and all of a sudden I notice that I've been asleep for the last half hour. The first thing I have to do is move into my self-remembering. And from there, I move into my self-witnessing. So find myself, then find the world. Does that make sense?
Does make sense. Thank you.
And it was a good question. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say on the subject. Noor?
Rishab's unmuted.
Oh yeah, I was just wondering, so when you say self-witnessing, is it something like in some things that I do, so I just kind of like vanish. I don't even know if I am there. Is that what you call like self-witnessing, or am I missing
No,
the?
it's like the opposite of that. It's like you are very, very present.
Okay.
Yeah. In the Yoga Sutras,
Mhm.
the first pada, the first section of it says, and I'm going to just translate it as I go. This is the teaching of yoga.
Yeah.
Yoga.
Hatha yoga.
Yeah. Hatha yoga anusanam.
Anushasan.
Yeah. Yoga is the cessation of the twistings and turnings of consciousness, of the chitta vritti.
Yeah. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha.
Yes. When the chitta vritti has stopped, the seer is in its proper place as witness to what is given from the universe. That's the line. That's self-witnessing. Then it goes on to say the last section, at all other times, the seer is identified with the objects given to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's self-witnessing in a nutshell, in that first section.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be disidentified with the chitta vritti, and you want to be the seer.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help at all?
Yeah, I think a bit like, but I maybe when I practice that, I'll get a better hang of it. I feel
Yeah,
that.
it does take a little practice. You need to kind of feel it, trip into it, and then you'll understand a little bit better how to do it on purpose,
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
just play
and
with
it
it.
doesn't take a little practice. It takes a lot of practice. Also, a little bit further on in the sutras, it says, in order to do this, you have to do it for a really long time and with great intensity. And that's the truth. There are no simple, well, it's all simple, but there are no quick ways to do this. I mean, think of how many years it took you to get this messed up. It's going to take a while to unmess yourself.
Oh, then it's going to be a long time.
Yeah, I feel you. It's okay though. Everyone is in a similar boat. You're not alone.
Yeah, we are all there.
Thanks, Rashid. I would like to read Aaron's response. He says, I can think of times that I've been able to work on projects and be productive while in these states, but it's not something I've deliberately thought about as being useful as useful to those ends. So this talk has been helpful for bringing that utility to my attention.
Yay.
Yay! You said something useful, at least.
It's always fun when we do that.
Okay. Well, I think, Malu, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, a question comes up.
Sure.
I noticed that when I tried to do the self-witnessing, I quite quickly feel very tired, and it's very difficult to be present and to listen.
That's because you have not created a store of energy within yourself to do this with. The ego steals 99.9% of all of our natural energy to keep the machine running. And you've heard the phrase, you've got to take your power back. This is what that means. You have to take your energy back. Now, I have said this before, and this is actually not off topic. In order to affect any real change in yourself, your personal energy energy is defined as the ability to do work. And I mean it in that sense, the ability to do work. Your energy has to be above a certain threshold. If your energy is not above that threshold, you cannot make permanent, lasting change in yourself. It just won't take. It's like trying to push a car with one finger. It doesn't work well, and it's hard on your finger.
I mean, this is why Maslow's hierarchy is a real thing, right? You have to meet those basic needs that allow you to have the energy to go to the next step, to put in a little bit more effort into things that are not directly related to, like, oh, where am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat? Do I have somewhere to wash myself?
Yeah, even more than that, it has to do with I am using all of my energy to live in fantasy.
Yeah.
I am spending my energy ruminating upon something that happened in the past or projecting something that might happen in the future.
Well, that happens all the more when a need is not satisfied, right?
Yeah.
So,
but let's say all of your needs are satisfied. You still
right.
have that going
Still
on.
do it. I mean, it's a habituation.
Yeah. So you have to take your energy back. Some of that energy is stored in chronic patterns of tension in the body. Some of it is stored in ruminations that you do with yourself over and over and over again. One of the great shocks to humankind is when psychologists figured out how to examine a person's inner dialogue. And what they discovered is that people basically say the same thing to themselves over and over again for their whole lives, or for at least for large portions of it. We keep playing the same movie. So when you begin to break those patterns, and self-observation is one of the main ways that we do that, the energy that is holding that together is released back into your system. And so you'll become less tired. It's literally like developing muscles. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is it terribly depressing?
In a way it is, in a way it isn't. There's no quick fix, but that was to be expected.
Yeah, the two things that you have to bear in mind is there is no quick fix. There is no guru who can give you the Shakti pot and you're enlightened forever. Right? This does not actually exist in the real world. And you have to do all the work yourself. Nobody could do the work for you. I'd be happy to do the work for you if I could. But I can't, nor can't. Well, maybe Nor can. She's kind of magical sometimes.
For you.
But no, you have to do it yourself. And it's really hard. It's really damn hard to do it yourself.
I'll grapple with
Some
that.
old, yeah, there's some old
Yeah.
folk song about that. I'll have to see if I can find it. Put it up on the forum.
Well,
All right.
yeah, we should wrap up. Everyone has
Yeah,
had
we
such
should.
great questions, though.
Yeah,
And
this
if
has
you have
been the exact session that I wanted to
good,
finish this
yeah.
part of the discussion on.
Well, we tied a lot of pieces. We put a lot of pieces of the puzzle into place this way, interlocking pieces. Yeah. Everyone's had a lot of great questions, and you may have more, which you can offer up in the comments or on the Facebook forum, and we will get to them as we can, or other people will, because often people offer really good answers to one another in our community, luckily enough for us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, one of my favorite things is that we are a community of people who are maybe smarter than us.
yeah, yes, yep. I know I appreciate that a lot. Anything else we need to add? Oh, do we want to talk about this next talk coming up at all?
The next talk coming up, as I mentioned briefly, is on creating aims.
Yeah.
What is an aim? How is it different from an intention? Why would you want one? But all the cool kids have them now, so.
And that ties into this discussion because the aim helps you stay motivated to do this kind of, spiritually, emotionally, physically, psychologically taxing work of, working on that edge of discomfort and trying to expand just beyond that so that you can claim that just beyond as part of your comfort zone and then keep going beyond that.
Yep.
It's the goal setting and the aim that makes that, it gives you the drive you need to keep going. So I think we can end there. We can go on Brady Bunch mode and wave to everybody who's here and who's
Yes.
watching on YouTube.
And here we are.
My favorite parts of these things.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Great to see you. Thanks
Thank
for
you
being
all
here.
for being here.
And
And
we will see you soon. Yeah.
yeah.
All right.